King Henry VIII has one of the most famous reigns in history. He is known for establishing the Church of England and splitting England from the Roman Catholic Church. Most of the motivation behind the split came from his marriages, the first of which was to Catherine of Aragon. Catherine was previously married to Henry's older brother Arthur before he died, but wanting to keep the political ties that would come from the marriage, Henry's father arranged for Henry to marry Catherine. During the marriage, Catherine had many children, but only one of them, Mary, survived past infancy. During the later part of their marriage, Henry started to sleep around with other women and eventually had a son with one of them. Knowing that not being able to have an heir wasn't his fault, he got angry at Catherine and tried to get an annulment. He had multiple reasons to try and get an annulment. The first and foremost being he wanted a male heir to take the throne after he died, but the second was his infatuation with a woman named Anne Boleyn. Anne Boleyn refused to sleep with him until after they got married, so he tried to speed up the annulment process. He sent to the Pope that he wanted an annulment, and the Pope was willing to give one, except for the fact that in order for Catherine and Henry to be married, they needed a dispensation from the church. And if the Pope was to give an annulment to the marriage, it would make all of the dispensations that the Pope had previously given out, it would make them look bad. So he lengthened the process of getting an annulment through many years. Through these years, Catherine's nephew, Charles V, had control of Rome, and that gave Pope Clement, the Pope at the time, more reason to not want the annulment to go through. Eventually, King Henry got tired of waiting and blackmailed the clergy into announcing him as the supreme head of the church, and so he had final say in all of the matters of the church. Using this power, he disbanded all of the monasteries and dispersed the money to himself and his supporters. He quickly appointed Thomas Cranmer as Archbishop, and Thomas very quickly annulled the marriage between Catherine and Henry and made Mary, Catherine's daughter, not heir to the throne anymore. Not much changed, except for the monasteries when the Roman Catholic Church was broken off from England. And Henry went on to marry Anne, who was pregnant at the time of when they got married. They were married for 3 years, and during those, Anne miscarried 2 or 3 times and had a stillborn son. Getting impatient again, Henry created false accusations of adultery, incest, and witchcraft to have Anne beheaded. After he beheaded Anne, he married Jane Seymour, who he did have a son with. But 2 weeks later, Jane died in childbirth. Soon afterwards, Henry died, and Edward, who was only 9 at the time, took the throne. The council that he was left with was very Protestant, and since he looked up to them, he was very quickly able to establish Protestantism with them. Unfortunately, Edward died at 15. Lady Jane then took over for 2 days in an effort for people to keep Protestantism, but Mary took over because of her popularity and the fact that she was born a Tudor. But, unfortunately, people only loved the fact that she was a Tudor and hated that she was actually Catholic. When she re-established the Catholic Church, her popularity dropped. That, along with the fact that she wanted to marry a prince from Spain. She burned hundreds of people at the stake for being Protestant, and after only 5 years, she died of stomach cancer. After Mary, Elizabeth took the throne. Elizabeth is Anne Boleyn's daughter. She reestablished Protestantism, and England prospered under her reign. She refused to marry so she could prove that women could rule in their own right, and was known as the Virgin Queen. The kids got motivation from Henry. And the fact that Henry wanted an heir and wanted Anne Boleyn.